Welcome to the second part of the IR spectroscopy, which we are discussing in the organic spectroscopy playlist. So if you didn't watch the previous video, I will request you to watch that video before watching this one. In the previous video, I discussed about the IR spectroscopy in a broader sense, and I discussed about all the regions, that is from around 500 centimeter inverse to 4000 centimeter inverse, whichever peaks we get in the IR spectroscopy. I discussed them all, and we have also seen that the carbonyl group is the most important group in IR spectroscopy, which we analyze. Right now, this video will be focused on this carbonyl group, their property, that how a different carbonyl compound shows the IR spectroscopy, how they are based on the substituent pattern, how their values changes, all these things. So let us first start with the simplest carbonyl compound, and that is the ketone. So ketone, it has a typical value for this carbonyl group, and the value is at around 1715 centimeter inverse. So this is the typical value for ketone. And now we will see that what is the effect when we add different substituent across this carbonyl group and how it changes. So if we add OH group, that is from ketone, if we change to carboxylic acid, what will be the value? So the value will not change too much, it will be around 1710 or 15, around same as ketone, but the change is very high when you put ester group, that is OR group, and it is at around 1745 centimeter inverse. So you can see from ketone or acid to ester, the stretching frequency value increases. But if you put NH2 group, that is amide, then what will happen? So for NH2 group, the value is at around 1650 centimeter inverse. So you can see here it is reduced. So with this direction it decreases, and in this direction it increases. And if you go further, that is if you put anhydride group, you will see the increase is even high, and for anhydride you will have actually two peaks at around 1790 and at around 1810, and this is because of coupling between these two carbonyl groups. So coupling I already discussed in brief in the previous video, you watch that, because in case of this CH2 group we also get this kind of coupling, and also for NH2 group we have this kind of coupling. So whenever you have two similar kind of bond which are neighbor to one another, then this coupling thing occurs. So this is around 1719 to 1810, and for acid chloride it is highest. For acid chloride the value is at around 1815. So typical carbonyl ketone, you can see it is 1715, whereas for acidic chloride it is 1815. So 100-fold increase from here to here. We can see a 100-fold increase in the stretching frequency value. Now how you can explain this? So if we go this direction, that is amide, it decreases, whereas if we go the other direction it increases. Now if you put any, and here I should mention another group, that is aldehyde group, and for aldehyde it comes at around, so the value is at around 1730. Okay, so at around 1730 or 1720 centimeter inverse. So you can see it is more than a ketone. So ketone is the typical group, and if we put different, so aldehyde ketone we can differentiate between this group, because ketone has this alkyl group, both alkyl groups, but in aldehyde we have one hydrogen, so there will be electronic difference. But the more drastic difference is found when we substitute it by OR group or anhydride group or this acid chloride group or amide group. So why this difference is there? Now when you put any group, that is, let's say if you put oxygen here or chlorine or nitrogen, so depending on whatever group you are putting, it exerts some electronic effect on this carbonyl group. So all these groups, oxygen, nitrogen, they have lone pair and they push electron in this carbonyl group, so you will have a resonating structure like this. So I am using OR, that is A star as a model example. So you will have this, and the resonating structure will actually look like this. So OR, so you can put this like, okay, so here you have plus, here you have minus. So this is the resonating structure. So you can see by this conjugation what is happening is this carbonyl group, it is losing its double bond character. So if you have only ketone, here you have complete double bond, but when you have A star or amide, you are losing the double bond character through the resonance. And if you lose the double bond character, that means what will happen, your stretching frequency will reduce, because we know stretching frequency is directly proportional to the bond strength. If you are reducing bond from double bond to single bond, of course your stretching frequency will reduce, because you are reducing the bond strength. Now for amide, we have seen that indeed we get lower stretching frequency than the ketone, but for A star it is other way, that is for A star we get higher stretching frequency. Now what is the reason? Now besides this effect, that is this is the plus R effect of O group, that is oxygen group or nitrogen group, but beside this plus R effect, oxygen shows another effect, and that is minus I effect. So when oxygen is attached to this carbonyl group, it withdraws electron through the sigma bond, and this actually withdraws electron from the carbonyl group, and that strengthens the carbonyl group. So because of the sigma electron withdrawal, it strengthens the CO double bond, and that's why the stretching frequency should increase, because it is strengthening the bond. Now there is a balance between these two. In case of amide, nitrogen is less electronegative than oxygen, so that's why this sigma electron withdrawal is low. So in this case minus I effect, whatever shown by nitrogen, is very low compared to the plus R effect. So nitrogen put more electron through resonance than it withdraws electron through inductive effect, whereas in case of oxygen, oxygen is very electronegative, much more electronegative than nitrogen, and that's why its inductive electron withdrawal is higher compared to resonance. That is, in this case plus I effect is higher compared to minus I effect. This is minus I effect is higher compared to plus R effect, and that's why in case of oxygen the bond strengthening effect is higher compared to bond weakening effect, and that's why we get a stretching frequency at high value. In case of A star, you can see the resonance is divided into two carbonyl groups. So oxygen lone pair is giving both this direction and this direction, that means there is a competition, so it is even less electron donating compared to A star. In case of A star, the oxygen, all the lone pair it is donating to one carbonyl group, but in case of anhydride, only one lone pair it is giving to two carbonyl group, and that's why the donation is even weaker here, but the inductive effect is same, and that's why in this case the increase in the stretching frequency is even more compared to A star. So anhydride shows even higher stretching frequency. And in case of acid chloride, chlorine has 3p orbital which can do conjugation with this carbonyl group, the pi star orbital of the carbonyl, and that's why the electron donation is very weak, because overlap between 2p of carbonyl, that is carbonyl carbon, and 3p of oxygen is very weak. So here we can neglect the electron donation if there is any, so it only exerts the minus I effect, and that's why it shows 100-fold increase in the stretching frequency value. Now if you compare between, so we have understood that why in this direction, that is oxygen and chlorine direction, the stretching frequency increases, and for nitrogen, the amide direction, the stretching frequency decreases. Now why there is a difference between aldehyde and ketone? Again, in case of ketone, you can see due to the presence of this alkyl group and this CH bond, it has hyperconjugation, that is there is a conjugation between. So if you draw the pi star orbital here, so this is the pi star orbital, so there is a conjugation between this pi star and the CH bond, that is hyperconjugation. This hyperconjugation is there, whereas in case of aldehyde you don't have this kind of hyperconjugation, and that's why in case of ketone it is slightly lower stretching frequency than aldehyde, because due to this hyperconjugation the carbonyl double bond character is reducing. So we understood the fact. Now let us come to the point that why in case of this thing, that is in case of anhydride or any other group like NH2 group, we get two peaks. So the reason is coupling, the vibrational coupling. So let us discuss the vibrational coupling in brief. So what is the vibrational coupling? So if you have any two vibration which are similar in range, they can couple, and they can have positive combination or negative combination depending on, you will have two peaks. Okay, now here comes a very important term which is called Fermi resonance, and which is often observed in carbonyl chemistry. So what is Fermi resonance? Before that, we have to be familiar with two terms. One is the fundamental stretching, and another one is the overtone. So what is the fundamental stretching and what is the overtone? So fundamental stretching is, so basically whatever vibration we discussed till now, all are fundamental stretching, and it is whenever the excitation of molecule occurs from the ground state to the first excited state, from the ground state vibration, that is V1 level to V2 level, which is the first excited state, So this is called fundamental, but there are some other excited states, and this excitation can occur to them also, that is from the ground state to second excited state or third excited state, and all these are called overtone. And if your fundamental stretching is around nu for a certain bond, then the overtone will be integral so that is nu bar, we express in nu bar scale. So if your fundamental stretching is let's say nu bar, then your overtones will be 2 nu bar or 3 nu bar, 4 nu bar, like that. That is the integral multiple of nu bar. Now coupling can occur between these two fundamental stretching, or it can also occur between fundamental of one bond and the overtone of the same bond. And when this occurs, that is coupling occurs between fundamental stretching of one bond and with the overtone of the same bond, then it is called Fermi resonance. And in case of aldehyde, we see the Fermi resonance. So in case of aldehyde, for this CH bond, the stretching of this CH, we get a spectra at around 2700 to 2900 centimeter inverse, and we get two distinguished peaks. So the peaks are like this. So one is at around 2750 and another one is at around 2850 centimeter inverse. And this occurs from the Fermi resonance. What is the Fermi resonance here? So here the Fermi resonance occurs between the CH, that is the CH bond, this CH bond stretching, and the fundamental, the CH stretching fundamental and HCO. So in case of aldehyde, you will have HCO group, so there will be a deformation or bending. So CHO bending will be there. But what is this Fermi resonance? The Fermi resonance is between the stretching of the CH bond and the first overtone of this CHO deformation. Okay, so this is the Fermi resonance here, the stretching of the CH bond and the first overtone of the CH deformation. So this CHO deformation, in short we write CH def. So the first overtone of this CH def and the fundamental of CH stretching, they couple to give you two peaks at around 2750 and 2850. So this is due to Fermi resonance, and this is a very characteristic peak for aldehyde. If you have given any compound, if you get a carbonyl stretching frequency for aldehyde at around 1720 to 1730, and at the same time if you get this two peaks at around 1850 and 2750, you can for certain you can say that this is an aldehyde group. So aldehyde is present in your molecule, and this is a very peculiar peak. In case of ketone, although you will get some peak at around 1715 or 1720 depending on the substituent, so at around 1715, but you will not get this peak at around 2850 or 2750. So this is a typical for only aldehyde group. So by observing this peak, you can tell whether your compound contains a ketone or aldehyde. So this is very typical. In case of anhydride, what happens is, you can see in anhydride this resonance is there. This resonance means conjugation I am talking about, not the Fermi resonance. This is conjugation. So this by this conjugation we can show that there is a double bond character here. So like this, O minus, and here you have plus. So overall we can show it by resonance hybrid like this. Okay, so minus minus and here plus. So because of this you can see all this component, all this segment, this is in a plane, this is a planar, and due to the planarity the conjugation makes the molecule planar, and due to this planarity the coupling occurs between the stretching frequency of this CO bond and the stretching frequency of this CO bond, and that's why we get two values. For an anhydride also we get two values. One is at around 1790 and another one is at around 1810, and these are very strong peaks. Very strong peaks like this you get. One is at around 1790 and another one is 1810. So at around like there is some gap between these two. So and depending on the substituent it may vary. So but two distinguished peaks you will get. Similarly in case of amide you will get two peaks. In case of amide also you will get two peaks for amide 1 and for amide 2, and the peaks will again look like this. One is for amide 1 and another one is for amide 2, and it is because of this because of what? It is because of the NH bending, that is NHO bending. The NHO bending, in short we say NH def, and the carbonyl. So carbonyl group has a stretching frequency, carbonyl is stretching, and NH def. Between these two the coupling will occur and you will get amide 1 and amide 2. So these three are the most important groups: the aldehyde, the anhydride and amide, which shows vibrational coupling, and for aldehyde it is the Fermi resonance. So this is the thing. Now let us talk about what is the effect of ring size on the value of the carbonyl stretching frequency, and the ring size has a very prominent effect on the stretching frequency value of the carbonyl compounds. So for that we will write down certain compounds. So let's say you have this one first, the 6-membered ring, that is cyclohexanone. Then let's say you have a 5-membered compound, then you can have a 4-membered, you can have a 3-membered, and the extreme case is you can have a ketene like this. You can have a ketene, so this is called ketene. Now if I write down the stretching frequency values, it will be, for this one it is 1715 and it is around the same as a normal ketone, but for 5-membered ring it is around 1745, same as ester. For the 4-membered ring it is at around 1780, for 3-membered ring 1813, and for ketene it is more than 2100. It is more than 2100. So you can see from this direction to this direction it increases, stretching frequency increases. Now what is the reason? So one explanation is, as the ring size decreases, you can see as the ring size decreases, these bonds, if you consider, to form these bonds, carbon will use orbitals of more p character. Why? Because you can see this bond is fully sp3 hybrid, but if you consider this bond, fully as sp3 hybrid cannot form this bond because the bond angle here is 90 degree. So with sp3 hybrid we get bond angle of 109 degree, at around 109 degree, which is there in this cyclohexane. But as the ring size decreases, and especially in case of cyclobutane system or cyclopropane system, it cannot use pure sp3 because here the bond angle is very low. So the most appropriate use of orbital would be the pure p orbital, right? But again pure p orbital will not be used and there will be some s character. But the moral of the story is, in this case this bond use orbital of more s character, whereas as the bond angle decreases, as the ring size decreases, this bond use more p character, and that in turn will push more S character in the carbonyl group. So in this case the carbonyl group is also comprised of, let's say it is comprised of sp2 actually, because it is trigonal center, not sp3 but sp2, because it is comprised of it is 120 degree bond angle, so it is comprised of sp2 hybrid, and both this cc bond and this co bond, they are comprised of sp2 hybrid. But in case of cyclobutane or cyclobutanone system, what we can say is the cc bond will have more p character and co bond in turn will have more S character, and in case of cyclopropane the amount of S character will be even high. So as the ring size decreases in the carbonyl group, the S character increases, and S character increase means bond strength will increase. So as you increase the S character in your bond, the bond strength will increase. So as you go from this side to this side, the carbonyl group or the CO bond is strengthened, and that's why their stretching frequency increases. But here is the question that why in case of, so maximum what you can get is pure S character, and which is there in the cyclobutane, but you can see from cyclobutane system to cyclopropane system even there is decrease, and even in case of ketene it is even more higher value of a stretching frequency. So this is a kind of anomaly. If we consider only this S character P character argument, there is the Benz rule. So there is a better explanation which I will come just in a moment, but for now you just know that this is the generally accepted explanation, and in most of the books you will find this explanation, that as the S character increases in the CO bond, the bond is strengthened, and that's why the stretching frequency increases. So this is why as you decrease the ring size, the bond strength will increase and the stretching frequency will also increase accordingly. Now let us talk about, so these are the examples of exocyclic bond, and similar trend you will see if you don't consider carbonyl group, if you consider simple exocyclic ring like this. If you compare between these two, so this is not a carbonyl group but this is a alkene. Again here also from this side to this side it will increase. Okay, so whatever the nature of the bond, if it is a exocyclic bond, this is called exocyclic bond because it is outside the ring. If it is a exocyclic double bond, then decrease in ring size will increase your stretching frequency. But what about endocyclic double bond? So let's say you have these compounds. Let's say you have this one, now this one, now this one, and this one, and this one. Okay, so in this case if I write down the values, so it is at around 1650, it is at 1646, it is 1611, and it is 1566, whereas this one is interesting, and this one is at around 1656. So you can see there is decrease from this to this. So as you go from large to small, that is, this is a 7-membered ring, this is a 6-membered ring, this is a 5-membered ring, and this is a 4-membered ring. So from 7 to 4 if you go, it gradually decreases 1650 to 1566, but again if you go from 4 to 3-membered it increases. So from initially it decreases and again here it increases. So that means this is a typical value for cyclobutane system where it has the lowest value. Now how you can explain this trend? So here the explanation is, if you consider any double bond and if it is accompanied with a CC bond, you can see this is one situation. So here there is some bond angle theta, and for cyclobutane system you can see, for cyclobutane system it will be 90 degree. So this theta is actually 90 degree, this is 90 degree, this theta is more than 90 degree, and another case may be there where this is phi, let's say this is phi and this phi is less than 90 degree. So this is the case of cyclopropene system, and let's say this large angle is the case of simple this system like this one, the cyclohexene system. Now in this case you can see, so for this double bond there will be a stretching frequency, and these are vectors. The stretching frequency is actually a vector, so there will be a stretching frequency. And similarly for the CC bond there is a stretching frequency like this, there is a stretching frequency like this. Now in this case you can see this CC stretching frequency and the the CC double bond stretching frequency and CC single bond stretching frequency, they are perpendicular to one another. So CC stretching, double bond stretching and CC single bond stretching, they are perpendicular to one another, and that's why there will be no coupling. But in other cases you can see we can now differentiate these into two components, this one and this one. So for this blue stretching frequency, which is for this blue represent the CC single bond, for this we can divide it into two components. So one is this one and another one is this one, okay. And this component you can see this is actually perpendicular to switch. So my drawing is little bit poor, I should draw it again. So let's say we have this double bond and we have a CC bond here. So for this double bond we have certain stretching frequency like this, and for this CC bond we have certain stretching frequency like this. Now if it has an angle like theta, we can, so this is a vector, this is stretching frequency nothing but a vector, and if it is inclined in an angle theta, we can divide it into two components, this one and this one. So this one, let's say this we consider the theta. Now if we consider this as theta angle, so previously we considered whole as theta angle, now we give it theta 1, but this one now theta. So this means this is cos theta, some new 1 cos theta, new bar 1 cos theta, and this one will be new bar 1 sin theta. So this component, this cos theta component, it is you can see perpendicular to the CC double bond stretching frequency, and that's why it will have no effect. But this one, this component, the sin theta component, will have coupling with this one, and this coupling will increase the stretching frequency value. Similarly, if you have a small bond angle, for example in case of cyclopropene system like this, again here you can divide it into two components. So this you can divide it into two components, this one and this one, you can see this. So again this is perpendicular and it will have no effect on the stretching frequency of the CC double bond, but this one is collinear and it will have effect and it will increase in the stretching frequency value. Now you can see as the angle decreases, so cos theta, this is actually cos theta is the angle here which is responsible as the and you know if the theta value decreases, the cos theta value increases. So that's why in case of cyclopropene system the theta value is very low, it is 60 degree or low, and that's why the component will have a high effect on the stretching frequency value. So increase is very high, 1656, you can see it is very high, from 1566 to 1656 it is at it is almost 100-fold increase, right? So this is because of the high contribution of the cos component of the stretching frequency from the CC single bond. So in case of cyclobutane you can see there is no contribution, it is fully perpendicular like this, there is no contribution, and that's why the value of the stretching frequency is lowest. As you increase the ring size, the component is added, or again if you decrease the ring size the component is added, and that's why the stretching frequency value accordingly increases. It is lowest for the cyclobutane system. Now the similar explanation is also can also be used in the previous case also, that is for exocyclic double bond like this one, and for this one we are taking extreme cases, this ketene, and for a large member ring like this. So if you consider this, you can see, so there is a component of CC double bond, so this is the CO double bond. This is the CO double bond is stretching. All the CO double bond is stretching here. Now it will be contributed by this CC single bond stretching also. It will be contributed. Now here if you consider the bond angle theta, and here if you consider the bond angle phi, so this phi is smaller than theta, and as you decrease the ring size, you can see the bond angle decreases, and we know this is the cos component which adds to this stretching frequency, and as the theta value decreases, the cos theta increases. So if you decrease the ring size, the theta value decreases, so the cos value increases, and that's why the stretching frequency value increases. And this is the extreme case for the ketin. You can see this is fully collinear with the, so this CC bond is fully collinear with the CO bond, and it has the highest contribution to the coupling, and that's why it shows the stretching frequency above 2100 centimeter inverse. So this is the proper explanation. It is a better explanation than S character P character explanation. Now we will return to the endocyclic double bond again. Another interesting thing which we see in endocyclic double bond is that, so if you consider these three, you can see, so in first we have only non-substituted thing, but here we put one alkyl group, here we put two alkyl groups, and putting these alkyl groups, you can see there is a dramatic effect. For this compound we have a stretching frequency 1656. For when you put one alkyl group, it will be 1788, and when two alkyl groups are there, it will be 1883. So increase is very high, you can see, as we put alkyl group. So why this increasing is there? This is again, as you put one alkyl group, it will add some coupling to the CC stretching frequency. If you put one alkyl group, it will put less coupling value. If you put two alkyl group, it will put more coupling value, and that's why the increase is very high. But again, the increase is most noticeable for this small membered ring like the cyclopropene system. If you consider a large membered ring like this one, cyclohexene system, then the increase is not that much high. So here if you put one alkyl group and if you put two alkyl groups, it is not very high. So it is at around 1646, but here it is 1675, and it is only 1681. So the extent of increase you can see here from 1788 to 1883 or 81, but here it is only 575 to 81, that is only 6 unit increase. So this increase is not very high. So for every ring size, whatever the ring size is, it may be 5 membered, 4 membered, or 3 membered, there will be increase when you add alkyl group, but the increase is most noticeable for small membered ring compared to a large membered ring. This you have to remember. Okay, so this is the effect of ring size on the stretching frequency values. Now let us talk about what is the effect of conjugation. So effect of conjugation is again very important, and let us take two examples. So let's say you have one aldehyde where your double bond is directly conjugated to the aldehyde, and you have another case where your double bond is far apart from the aldehyde. So in this case for aldehyde you will have, so normally we have 1730 is the range for aldehyde stretching frequency, and this is observed for this one. This is at around 1730 centimeter inverse. This double bond, so they are non-interacting, and that's why this also comes at around 1640, and it is weak band. I already discussed in the previous video that the CC double bond are not polars, and that's why dipole moment change is very low, so that's why they show weak frequency. But in this case, this double bond shows strong band, and it is at around 1620 centimeter inverse, and in this case the carbonyl comes at around 1690 centimeter inverse. So when it is non-interacting, it comes around 1730, but when it is interacting with the double bond, it comes at around 1790. Similarly, so both the stretching frequency of CC double bond and CO double bond decreases. And why? Because you can see in this case you will have this conjugation. This kind of conjugation will be there, and this reduces both the double bond character of this bond and this bond. So now we can with the resonance hybrid we can show like this. So this actually reduces the double bond character of both this CC bond and this CO bond, and that's why both shows decrease in the stretching frequency value. Why a strong bond appears here? Because of this polarization. You can see now it is positively polarized. So because of this polarization, now there is some dipole moment in the molecule, and that's why it shows strong band. So we can see that conjugation has some effect on the stretching frequency value. Similarly, if your aldehyde or ketone is conjugated to some aromatic ring, it will show the decrease in the stretching frequency value, and similarly the aromatic ring will also show decrease in the stretching frequency value. So when conjugation is there, you will have decrease in the stretching frequency value. So we can differentiate these two molecules by looking at their spectra, IR spectra, whether the molecule is conjugated or not. If there is low stretching frequency for double bonds, the CO double bond and CC double bond, it will have conjugation. If it has high stretching frequency unaltered, then it will not have any conjugation. So this is the thing. So this is all what we need to know about the stretching frequency values or stretching frequency pattern of the carbonyl group. More finer details are there for the IR spectra. If they are needed, I will discuss them while solving the questions related to IR spectroscopy or in general question solving for organic structure determination. But another thing which I should discuss now is the effect of hydrogen bonding, which I already discussed in the last video, but there are few interesting examples left there which I will discuss here. So we have seen that hydrogen bonding has profound effect on the stretching frequency of OH bond. So OH bond, if it doesn't have any hydrogen bonding, it comes as a sharp band at around 3600 centimeter inverse, but when hydrogen bonding is involved, it comes as a broad band, and it is the range is at around 3400 to 2900 centimeter inverse. This we have seen. Now let us take two examples. Let's say you have this one, this ortho-salicylic acid, and you have para-salicylic acid. Okay, so you have two compounds, ortho-salicylic acid and para-salicylic acid. So both will undergo hydrogen bonding. In case of para-salicylic acid, what will happen? There will be intermolecular hydrogen bonding, that is hydrogen bonding between two groups, that is this one and let's say you have this. So there may be different kind of hydrogen bondings in these molecules, hydrogen bonding between OH group and carboxylic acid group, between two carboxylic acid groups, all kind of hydrogen bondings are there. I am showing one of them. So this, and you have OH over here. So there will be hydrogen bonding like this. This is for para isomer, intermolecular. For the ortho isomer, there will be what? For the ortho isomer, there will be intramolecular hydrogen bonding like this, and you will see in both cases there will be broad peak in normal solvents. But now interesting thing happens when you dilute. So this is, let's say, sample 1 and this is sample 2. Now let's say you dilute both samples by some non-hydrogen bonding sample, let's say CCl4. CCl4 is non-hydrogen bonding, and you dilute both sample 1 and sample 2 with this CCl4 solvent. So what you will see is, in case of this ortho isomer, there will be no change in the spectrum, it will be broad. But in case of para isomer, you will see there will be broad spectrum, and at the same time it will come some sharp band at around 3600 centimeter inverse. Now what is the reason? The reason is, when you dilute the sample with CCl4, this intermolecular hydrogen bonding will break, because solvent molecules will go between two molecules and it will disrupt the hydrogen bonding. But in case of intramolecular hydrogen bonding, solvent will not have any effect, and that's why the hydrogen bonding will be unaltered and you will have broad spectrum. So this is a general thing, and any kind of molecule where you can have intramolecular hydrogen bonding, you cannot disturb the hydrogen bonding by solvent effect, and your spectra will be broad. Similar thing happens for enols. In case of enols, so this is keto and this is your keto for active methylene group, and this is your enol. Okay, this is your enol. So in enol form it has hydrogen bonding, and if your compound contains, so whether your compound contains enol form or not, you can verify by IR spectroscopy. You take a sample, run the IR spectroscopy, and if your IR shows a broad peak at 3400 centimeter inverse, then you will be sure that your compounds contains enol form because it has hydrogen bonding. But if it shows strong peak at 3600 centimeter inverse, your compound shows only keto component and no enol content. And again, this is intramolecular hydrogen bonding, so with solvent effect you cannot disrupt the hydrogen bonding, and that's why your broad band will be persistent. So this is the overall thing of IR spectroscopy. Through these two videos I summarized and discussed all the important aspects of the IR spectroscopy. Now I will suggest you to read some books. So I will suggest two books for you. One is by William Kemp, and another one is by Pavia. So these two books are very good books. You can read it for any kind of spectroscopy. For IR spectroscopy, Pavia is good. There are a lot of examples, but whatever I discussed in the video, if you understand that examples, you can understand very easily, because this is the principles and this is the fundamental things which you should know first before reading any books. And also I will suggest you to read Claydon for this. Although Claydon is not a specialist book for spectroscopy, but again, whatever thing discussed in Claydon for spectroscopy part, it is amazing and it is very useful for problem solving purpose and qualitative organic spectroscopy part. So these three books I will recommend you to read. All the books are available in the PDF form. So that's all. Thank you for watching. If you are new in this channel, subscribe this channel, and don't forget to subscribe the bell icon, because I know that I make a lot of videos and you don't get the notification because maybe you didn't press the bell icon. So please press the bell icon so that you get the notification whenever I upload videos. So again, thank you for watching.